Hello everyone, this is World VIU broadcasting live from our studio in beautiful Nanaimo, British Columbia, Canada at Vancouver Island University. I'm Leanne Spasnik, Manager of International Marketing and Recruitment. Our program feature today is our Bachelor of Business Administration. We have two faculty members joining us to tell you all about it. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Sure, my name is Andrea Martin. I'm the Program Advisor for Business. So I advise for the Bachelor of Business Administration, the Diploma, and Certificate in Business Management.
Hi everyone, my name is Rob Ferguson. I'm the Acting Associate Dean for the Faculty of Management.
So our session today we'll start with a short presentation, about 10 to 15 minutes. And during that presentation, if you do have any questions, you can enter them into the comment box below, and we will get to all of them following the presentation. We recognize that it's the middle of the night in a lot of your time zones, so you're probably not watching this live. We have received questions in advance, and we will put those into the comment area and answer those as well. Again, if you do have additional questions though, please enter them in and we'll get to all of them.
Well, if we look at the picture right there, you can get a good idea of the campus here for Vancouver Island University in Nanaimo. And we go to our next sort of slide, and we often get questions of just where are you, right? It's difficult to find perhaps, or people aren't familiar with it. So if you take a look at that map that you can see on your screen, you can see where Vancouver Island University's Nanaimo campus is located, and in relation to perhaps major cities that you're familiar with like Vancouver or Seattle. And we also want to acknowledge that we've got a special relationship, and we deeply appreciate the connections we have with the local First Nations communities, such as Sinemic, the Klamath, Sanas, Qualicum First Nations, and on whose unceded traditional territory we're able to do the great work that we do in partnership with them. Another thing to comment on is that Vancouver Island University is situated within the UNESCO Biosphere region of Mount Arrowsmith. So it's a very unique ecological place in the world. And we also have a very close connection, or commute if you like, just a couple hours away to the Clayoquot Sound UNESCO Biosphere region. So it's a very special place to live and work and study. What can you do? What can you do here while you're studying? Really important. It's important to not only enjoy your studies, but also to experience, no doubt, the culture and people and activities associated with the West Coast here in British Columbia, Canada. So again, Vancouver Island's a great big playground, right? And that's one of the reasons why we live here. So it's possible. You can surf, you can ski, you can hike, play golf, fish, all on the same day.
It'll be a busy day.
It'll be a very busy day. It's been done. I can tell you it's been done. And you can also see we've got some close connections to professional sporting events. For example, in Vancouver, we've got numerous opportunities for groups of students from the campus here to go watch professional sporting events associated with hockey, basketball, soccer, and so forth.
So what are some of your favorite things to do on the weekends?
Hiking. So I like hiking. We have a mountain just behind the campus called Mount Benson, and so I like to hike up there. Also spending time at the rivers, lakes, and ocean here. I spend a lot of time outside. And running. Running is a big pastime of mine as well. So lots of time outside. It's very mild here, so you can be outside really any time during the year. It doesn't get that cold for that long.
I'm skiing this weekend.
Are you?
I've got two little kids,
oh,
12 and 10, so our plan is to go up to Mount Washington that you can see on the map there, and have a nice ski on Mount Washington Alpine Resort. So it's an exciting place to live in. It also is a really good segue to the notion of business, because tourism, outdoor recreation is one of the many thriving business sectors in British Columbia. So something for you to consider for those of you interested in business and business admin. This is a great slide because it illustrates the variety of activities and learning that's associated with the academic community here at Vancouver Island University. And the way that the Bachelor of Business Administration is structured is there's opportunities for each student to pursue electives, and you're encouraged really to go and seek those opportunities in different areas of the university.
So I'd like to sort of comment on that. There's for many of these programs that are listed there, not only through the BBA are you encouraged to do electives from outside of business, you have to do electives from outside of business. So 6 credits or 18 credits or 6 classes could be taken from any of those other programs. Additionally, and we'll get to in a little bit, is you can do minors that are associated with your BBA, and a minor could be done in arts and humanities, social sciences, education, so there's lots of opportunities to build a strong foundation in a totally different discipline.
And it's a really customizable degree, so you can format it around what your career goals are or what your personal interests are.
Mm-hmm.
So yesterday I was talking to a student actually in the digital studies program, digital media program, and she's doing a minor in marketing in the business faculty.
Yes, yeah, we find that a lot. So students from outside of business will be picking up minors or an understanding of a department in the business program. So for example, as you mentioned, there's digital studies, but also students who are here for arts would like to do minors in business. And we have a few minors that'll be coming up hopefully next year in human resource management, and international business. So in addition to our minor in business.
Mm-hmm. And majoring in the Bachelor of Business Administration, you can have some really creative combinations there. Absolutely. Too. Like imagine doing a major in finance with a minor in global studies.
Exactly. Yes. So all of those things are possible. And when you come here and you speak to me or other international advisors, we can let you know what your options are.
And that story really gives you an idea of what the classroom learning environment is like, right? So you've got a room full of people with very, very diverse interests, all studying the same subject, and what that creates is an excellent sort of atmosphere for good conversation and learning. And that's something that we really enjoy from a faculty perspective, and we know from a student perspective that we really enjoy those kind of conversations in the classroom of different ideas and opinions. Mm-hmm. And that helps us to focus in on why VIU. Why would you choose to come here? It's interesting because if you talk to the faculty and staff, all of us have chosen to come to VIU to work, and for probably very similar reasons why you would choose to come here as a student. So we're relatively big. We have 14,500 students. You can take a look at the sort of numbers you can see on your screen there. 75,000 and growing alumni worldwide. It is amazing how many VIU connections we have around the world.
This semester we have 93 countries represented on campus, and so that brings really interesting conversations into the classrooms. Mm. People have different perspectives from being raised in different cultures. Mm-hmm. And we really want to zero in on that number 34. From a student perspective, I really want to encourage you to think about that for a second. What would that be like? That's a class size maximum at Vancouver University. So our maximum class size is 34 students. Sometimes you'll end up with 2 classes together, perhaps. That's only 68 still. And just imagine what that experience is like. You've got that diverse group of students that we've just talked about with diverse interests in a small group with a qualified instructor in front of you. And some institutions you're in classes of hundreds, mm-hmm. And you perhaps don't even get that interaction with each other and with the instructor.
Mm-hmm. And then also you have direct access to your instructor during office hours as well. So you really get to know your instructor, and they get to know you as well.
And so if they're seeing that you have particular topics you want to cover, or maybe there's something that you need to talk to them directly about, they're really accessible for you.
Available.
Yeah.
So let's zero in a little bit more on the Faculty of Management and the Bachelor of Business Admin. And the only thing I'd like to comment on this is the different logos you see at the bottom there that are associated with professional bodies within Canada and British Columbia. So we have very strong relationships with these different agencies, different governing bodies, and where our programs and courses are accredited to lead to membership. So for example, the first one there, Chartered Professional Accountants, as an example. So these are some of the relationships we have, and they're growing and expanding, and they're certainly deep, and they connect directly back to the learning experience. Maybe Andrew, do you mind commenting on the major-minor structure there?
Absolutely. So we have the list there of all the majors that you can pursue in the BBA. At the bottom there's marketing, and we have the major and the minor, and as I've already mentioned, there's a few more minors that are in the works. It's also possible to double major. So you can pursue a major in accounting with a major in financial services or economics. And these things, not all students will pursue a double major. It is a lot of work, and you have to be very disciplined. But it will increase opportunities after a student has graduated. And but each one of these has their own unique features and like I say, opportunities afterwards. Some of them have, like for example, the international business major. A lot of international students pursue this, and they feel as though it gives them access to business strategies and business information that they can use if and when they decide to go back home. And they have, there's also an opportunity to do field schools and international internships, and there's lots of ways to even increase your international experience even further. So yeah, they're all, the students, sometimes it takes them a little while to decide which major they want to do, and as a result we have the BBA is structured so that the first year all students are basically taking the same courses. The second year you start to refine which courses you're going to take depending on which major you think you're going to go toward. Even if you decide to do a major in, for example, management, you can change your mind and pursue a different major with maybe a couple of extra classes that you might have to take, but it's so it's very flexible.
So Andrea, if someone does decide to do two majors or a major and a minor, it's probably a good idea to come and talk to you as the advisor early on.
Yes, I think so. It's you know, a lot of students will get their information from other students, which may not always be reliable. So it's best to speak with me as your advisor, or speak with another advisor in international education, and they may encourage you to come and see me as well. But you've got lots of support here to determine how you're going to get your educational goals met.
Yeah, there's a small army of colleagues and staff ready to support you. And I think the beautiful thing when you look at that list is that it gives you the opportunity, all students, the opportunity to personally tailor their learning. So we spoke about that a little bit earlier, about, you know, we all have specific interests, so you can personally design your own learning experience, and there's a lot of variety there. And at the same time, you're not locked in, right? Because all of us our interests might change with whatever information we might get. And there's people ready and willing with the expertise to support you through that journey. So, and that's common. Actually, that's really common. I think if we speak with most of us, we've gone through different pathways.
People will take a class in first or second year and realize that's my passion.
Yeah, absolutely.
That does happen.
Yeah.
So this was an exciting thing I would just want to share with everyone in terms of the labor market outlook. And we can't really speak, it's difficult to speak around the world. You probably are aware of different opportunities where you live. But here in British Columbia, if you take a look at that stat from the 2019 to 2024 outlook, you can see over 90,000 job openings for people with the skill sets that were going to be coming out of a Bachelor of Business Admin program. So the opportunities are significant. As a matter of fact, our area, the business admin area, is the fastest growing area in terms of opportunities and jobs in British Columbia, and no doubt within Canada, and no doubt around the world. Yeah, and if you'd like further information on that, we've got the link there. I encourage you to do your own homework to kind of see the reasoning and the specific pathways and maybe interest there. That might be of something that you might find valuable. So a couple features. Maybe I'll just speak to one. 4 years full-time, and of course there's options to go part-time, right? We don't want to restrict that idea. Some folks find that more helpful and supportive for their learnings to go part-time.
International students just have to take a minimum of 3 courses per semester, 9 credits, in order to maintain their study permit status.
And I think also it's not a bad idea if you're a little bit apprehensive about starting at a new school in a new country. So when you start at VIU, it is not uncommon for students to take 4 classes, 3 or 4 classes, just to make sure that they understand how school works here, how education works here. And it's okay to take the time, because although the first year is common for everybody. There's elective choices in there. So you may decide to do 4 courses in the first semester, the fall semester, 4 courses in the spring semester, and then take 2 elective courses over the summer. So it wouldn't be too demanding for you in the summer. You get a little bit of a break, but also it'll keep your English level high and also your familiarity with studying. So yeah, it's a good idea actually to start a little bit slow, but we encourage you to know what you need to do.
It's your path, right?
Yes.
That's the key aspect there.
Yeah.
So we've spoken a little bit about small class sizes already. I want to speak a little about this notion of innovative instructional design. So Vancouver Island University is a special purpose teaching university, which means that the people who come here, the instructors that come here, have come here because they love to teach. They love to be in that environment. And you've already heard a couple of hints about different programs and things that are underway. And what that should communicate to you is that faculty here are determined to consistently and always improve. And so you're going to find people who are engaged, who are really trying to push the envelope in terms of what is the best way to learn, what is the best way to teach. And the other piece I want to share with you is that last bullet, the real world research projects. So we are applied and try to make the learning as real as possible. So we have strong relationships with different organizations, and we love it when we have students and faculty working together in the community on real projects. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of those going on. Actually, it's difficult to track how many of that activity is happening. Any other thoughts there?
Just that I believe that when you come here, you're able to entirely shape your education. So while there are parameters to the degree, you have to have 120 credits, you need to meet all of the required courses of the degree and the elective choices. There's so much you can do to shape your education. You're not limited. It's not a you have to take only these courses and you're going to finish up with the same education as the person sitting next to you in the class. Yours will be entirely unique. And I think that feels good. It feels good to be able to choose that.
It's a good point. It's a great point. So what are some other activities happening here? We've spoken a little bit about a few of them. One thing I'll just mention, we've got a number of colleagues and instructors that are organizing field schools, and those go around the world. They're learning opportunities that happen sometimes within Canada, outside of our region, and sometimes outside in the world. So there's we've been to Costa Rica, students are off to Europe, students are off to China, France, Hawaii. The list is endless, really.
Yes.
It's quite a few. What else do you want to speak to there?
Well, we've already talked about double majors, so that you could also have a major and a minor. So again, you may decide that you wanted to do a financial services major, and you think maybe I'd like to have a marketing minor because that's a real interest to me. So going on a field school that is brought to you by the marketing department will give you upper level credits towards the minor. So not only are you taking classes, but you can take classes in different countries and receive credit towards your degree that shapes your specific interests.
And I love how you mentioned relationships there. So you can see the box that speaks about the different relationships we have with organizations around the world. Mm-hmm. But in terms of credits and relationships, we have a phenomenal relationship with other post-secondary institutions within BC and Canada. Mm-hmm. So the credits that you earn here at Vancouver Island University can be moved or transferred or applied to learning at other institutions, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. So in terms of student mobility and the ease of students moving from institution to institution and their credits along, we have a very, very robust system, and again, a small army of people who help that process along. It's a good segue into this piece around admission requirements. And you'll notice some links there because there's only a few bullets on this slide, so the primary source of information for you and all students should be our VIU website in terms of entrance requirements. Anything specific you want to mention on
Well,
this piece?
I suppose if you want to come here and you don't have what would be deemed equivalent to English 12, you can do the upgrading through the ESL program.
Mm-hmm. So our English requirement for an undergraduate admission is IELTS 6.5, no band under 6. If you haven't reached that level yet, you can still apply to the BBA and receive conditional acceptance pending completing what we call University Preparation 5 in our English Language Center. Again, as you were talking about earlier, Andrea, it's also a good way to come here and get settled into the community, find your housing, and get used to the cultural changes before you start your academic program. And it's also a very high quality upgrading program. So we have comments from our faculties that students coming through our English Language Center are sometimes academically better prepared than a student who hasn't done any prep before.
I have to actually say something. Yesterday I had a student who came to my office, and he had come from China, and he said we were looking at his course enrollment history, and he was a little bit embarrassed about his first couple of semesters, and he said, I didn't go through the ESL program. And I said, no, that's okay, you don't have to do that. And he goes, but I think that it would have better prepared me for my first year classes. And so it's not just faculty who believe that, it's even students who have been here and who've been in classes with students who've gone through the program. They are better prepared for writing research according to Canadian standards.
And so let's pretend that you're doing that upgrading. You've come to Canada, you've applied, you've got a conditional with the Business Students Association president just the other day and said, well, how would you feel about engaging with these international students who are intending to be in the BBA program but are currently upgrading their English? Do we want to engage with them? Do we want to connect with them from a student-to-student perspective? And the answer was absolutely. So the beautiful thing is the English Language Center is about 50 feet, that far, away from the Faculty Management Building. So there's an opportunity there to gain those connections. You don't have to wait until you finish that. We really want to gain that connection and get to know who you are, so you feel comfortable and part of the faculty.
And during that last semester of English upgrading, you're also allowed to take a 3-credit course that can apply towards your degree. So that's a way to also be involved with your faculty.
Yeah, great point.
I'd like to mention one other thing with this slide regarding mathematics. Some students, just by the nature of their education system, don't have the level of mathematics required. You still can apply here, and our admissions team will help you to upgrade that math before you get started in the BBA.
Great point. Great point. A couple other comments there. I'll just speak to the tuition again. The best source of information. Have a look at the website. Maybe application deadlines, the two of you have more to do with that. Is there anything we should pay attention to there?
I'd like to say our official application deadline is March 31st, but we do accept applications while we have seats available up until June 30th. I encourage you not to wait. If you are ready to apply today, because when the program is closed, then you would miss out on the opportunity to attend in September. So the way to tell is to go to our application form online, and if the Bachelor of Business Administration is still available on the program drop-down, then you can apply to it. But again, don't wait.
There's an advantage also to applying early, is that if you have academic credit from other universities and you want to apply those transfer credits to your record here, it does take time to do that. So if you can apply before March 31st or shortly thereafter and get your official transcript to us and any course outlines from courses that you've taken before, we can assess those and see which of those courses that you've already taken are equivalent to required courses in our program, and thus speeding up your education.
And you also may need more time to apply for your study permit, so get that going as soon as you can too.
So full, complete application packages as soon as possible.
Yes.
Yeah, excellent. So in summary, a couple of highlights. We've seen them there. Really want to focus on the small classroom, that learning environment, talking about a designated, robust, big team of colleagues within the Faculty of International Education that are here to support you, in addition to the team that you've been introduced to a little bit and more within the Faculty of Management. And really, we're only 2 areas in the university. There's lots of other areas that are here to support you. And we've talked a little bit about what it's like to be here, to study here, to live here, to work here. And we hope we've given you some good information about that and sort of shared some of the highlights and the wonderfulness of living in Vancouver Island and being in Nanaimo.
I'll just, sorry, Andrea, I'll just expand a little bit on the designated faculty of international education. That's where I work. And we have 65 colleagues here who are here to support international students. So that means that you have dedicated advisors, admissions people, people to help you with your application. Once you're a student here, you can get immigration advice. We have people who are at our front desk reception who are here to welcome you and just say, what can I help you with? You know, if you need to be directed somewhere else on campus, we're here to help. This is like your home away from home once you arrive at VIU.
Including medical staff.
That's right.
Including medical staff. That can be a concern for some. No doubt there's a couple parents watching. So we've invested not only in the counseling, the advising, but also qualified medical professionals here on campus to support students and either refer or look after their needs.
I was just going to say that I did an undergraduate degree here, so I am a former student. I'm alumni, and also and I've been working here for about 10 years now, and grew up in Nanaimo. It's very, very safe. It's a lovely community. There's so much to do and see here, and you're close to any other big hubs. So Vancouver's not very far away. Our provincial capital is in Victoria, and so there's it's a lovely place to live and study.
There we go. Thank you for your attention.
We'll get to some questions now, and again, if you haven't entered your questions yet, you're welcome to do so now, and we'll get to all of them before we wrap up here. So our first question is from Zahid, and he asks if VIU has a master's in computer science. We have a bachelor degree, but not a master's at this time. However, we do have some computer science engineers who take our Master of Business Administration class or course.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. We have a number of graduate programs within the Faculty of Management that are emerging, as well as a GIS graduate program as well. And there seems to be more and more graduate programs in the works, colleagues, and that might be one of them. I know that department is very keen, very progressive, and lots of discussions happening on campus, absolutely.
I'll just get to our next question here. We have a student asking, when can I choose my major?
Well, you could choose one of the majors. You can be goal-coded for a major or a major and a minor in your 4th semester of full-time study. So if you follow along the path as it's advised, then it would be your 4th semester. But you can always, the declaring of your major is important, so you can get access to reserved seats. However, not being declared doesn't prevent you from taking upper level classes. So yeah, the short answer is 4th semester.
And along those same lines, we have another student asking, what if I change my mind and want to declare a different major or a double major later on?
Yeah, it's absolutely no problem at all. You and I would speak, and we would decide what your goals are and try to shape it so that it would meet those goals. You can change your mind whenever you like, and students do that. They think that they want to pursue a particular major, or or they resist taking a major that their parents wanted them to do, and then realize actually they do want to do what their parents wanted them to do. It's a but we can meet and we can goal code, and it's no trouble.
And are there business courses available to take in the summer?
There are this summer, yeah. So every summer there are business classes that are offered. It's we run in the fall and the spring. We have 2 semesters, but in the summer there are a smattering of courses available. But there's also other courses from other faculties that are offered as well. So, but we have some interesting ones. This year there's a couple of upper level marketing, a 6-credit course that's going to be creativity and innovation as well as product development. So again, this speaks to the having faculty who are really enthusiastic and come up with some great plans to offer classes, and they'll scramble over it themselves to try to make sure that students get access to their programming.
Yeah, that's a good point. We only just resolved that particular class yesterday.
Yeah.
And it is because the two faculty that will be teaching that, or co-teaching that, are so passionate about their subject area and so excited about this learning opportunity they've crafted. And so we have worked within the system to do everything we can. We've even bent a couple rules, to be honest with you, don't tell anybody, to make that happen for students in the summertime. And that's the kind of thing that the summer learning really provides, that flexibility.
My home institution, how will they transfer to VIU? So that's something you've touched on already. Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
At your home university, so if it's an international university, how will they transfer? They get assessed. So if we've already got a relationship with your home institution, it's very simple. We just go by that relationship, the agreement, and usually it happens quite quickly. If we don't already have a pre-existing relationship with your home institution, it takes a little bit of time, and that's why Andrea's comment about official transcripts, as much information as you can provide, such as course outlines, will really help us to assess those credits in the most effective way to advantage you. We want to make sure that you get credit for the learning you have. And in order to do that, we need that information early and in as complete form as possible.
And also translated to English.
Yeah.
So your course outlines and transcripts should be translated to English. And with your application, you have to have an official transcript.
But let's say that we've assessed your credits and they're not exactly the same courses that we have here. You'd still hopefully be given unassigned credit, which means that we don't have the exact same course here at VIU as like the one that you took back home, but we can still use the credit towards electives and otherwise. So it is always worth having us assess your credits to make sure that you're getting the biggest and best advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. Good question.
Our next question is, can I work in Canada while going to school? So I can start off with that response. So a study permit in Canada allows full-time students to work for up to 20 hours a week part-time during their studies, and then to work full-time on scheduled course breaks. And so that would be, if you studied full-time in the fall and spring, you could work full-time over the summer. About the part-time work, we do encourage students to come and settle into their program and have the financial planning to do so without working, because there's going to be a lot on your plate on that at that time.
It's a big change. It's a huge adjustment to start studying in a different country. And if you've already done it before, you'll know that. But there's finding housing, getting settled in housing, creating some balance in your life. So not just going to school and going home to study, but what else are you doing? Are you involved in clubs and getting to know other supports at the school? So the first semester particularly, it's really worth just staying focused on being a student and all that can bring for you.
And I have to, you can't see them, but behind the camera facilitating today are actually some student interns. So there's lots of opportunities on campus as well to seek employment, and some neat little projects and roles that I know students have benefited from. But it is important to consider you're a full-time student first, and you've made a big investment to travel this far and to invest in your future through this sort of training and education. So it is wise to carefully consider how you're going to manage your time and energies. And certainly you can speak to fellow students on campus. There's lots that can share their stories with you, and you can learn from them.
I do have some students who will come and speak to me in the second semester, and they'll be talking about how they really need to change their study habits because they were working before and it wasn't really working for them. And so we can always look at how things have been going and then try to help you adjust so that you can make better choices.
With all those wise words, I'd also like to say there are lots of student jobs available in Nanaimo. We have all kinds of businesses that are looking to hire students, and so generally it's pretty, there's a pretty open market there for student jobs.
Absolutely.
We have a student asking, what can I do after my BBA?
what would you like to do after your BBA? We spoke a little bit about the job outlook, prospects in British Columbia, but you can see those kind of skill sets. So the notion of a leader, a decision maker, somebody who's able to take informed risks, somebody who's able to forecast the future, to plan and product design to meet the needs of consumers and clients. So really, the world is your oyster. The world is your opportunity there, and the BBA is tailored in such a way that you can almost specialize, right, in terms of your majors: marketing, human resources, finances. And so, what can you do? We have students in all ranges of roles, from policy development to sales to government, you name it. You can do it. It's up to you. So it's really useful to look a little bit deeper, I think, rather than taking our word for it, and look at that literature that we shared with you that's linked there around the labor market outlooks, not only in BC, but also where you live. What's happening where you live, and what opportunities are going to be available to you as a result of earning a Bachelor of Business Admin here at VIU.
And you can sometimes segue into your career by choosing a co-op or internship for some practical experience, and that leads into our next question. Is that okay? Did you have another point there?
Well, I only wanted to share, because I think we might have missed it a little bit, that there's opportunities to enhance your training through embedded certificates and diplomas within the institution. So, for example, maybe you've got a particular interest in wine business. So we've got a very big wine industry here in Vancouver Island, and we actually have a wine business certificate. So during your studies, if you work closely with the advisor, you can carefully plan your courses to also add things like a wine business certificate, or perhaps an event management certificate, and really widen out your employability to pursue those opportunities that we spoke about.
Great, yeah. And so can we talk a little bit now about internships, co-ops, work ops, things like that? What opportunities are there within the BBA?
The BBA has an internship. It's a 6-credit upper level management course. You'd be working very closely with a supervising instructor. We don't have an employment brokerage, but working with a supervising instructor, you can get an idea of where you might want to intern, or perhaps you know exactly, having been here for a little while, where you want to intern. And it's fairly self-directed with you and your supervising instructor, and it can be a real benefit. So especially for students, like the question is what can I do after? Some students decide to go on and do grad studies, and having done an internship and worked very closely with a supervising instructor, they can get a reference and somebody who can actually speak to their many abilities.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
And do we have exchange programs for undergraduate students?
We most certainly do.
Yeah. So the sky is the limit, really. So we do have some partners that students will often go and study at specific institutions. However, really, again, it comes back to what do you want your degree to look like? Because if you know exactly where you want to go, which university, and you can, we can help support you in getting there. But you can take whatever you want to. You can go anywhere you want to. I mean, there's you may be limited by visa and that kind of thing. But otherwise, from our perspective, the sky is the limit.
And I'm really excited. That's an interesting topic. I'm really excited. I've been involved in developing a relationship with 2 different schools in Norway. Brand new, fresh agreement to send students on exchange for study abroad. And we've got at least 4 students traveling out to Norway this year or this fall, and some coming in. And just as Andrew said, we're going to really work hard to make that opportunity happen for you. And we've got a dedicated team here within the Faculty of International Education that does that job. That's their full-time job, is to support those sorts of initiatives. The key thing is, of course, is to ensure the learning that would be taken abroad is applicable to your program here at VIU. And again, you've got colleagues to help you negotiate that. Good question, another great question.
Yeah, that was a great question. Thank you, Chairman General Eddie Blay, for submitting that one. Our next question is, how early do I need to submit an official transcript to have my transfer credits assessed in time to make course selections?
So the short answer would be March 31st, so that you can have your credits assessed before you register for classes at the end of May. So that would be, but there's, we can work as fast as we can, but if you're looking for sort of guarantees, you'd want to definitely be apply before March 31st.
Thousands of programs and universities around the world. We really need your help to support you and to make sure those credits are transferred in the timely way possible. So yeah, absolutely. That another good question. Early, complete, full information will help that process along.
The next question is related to that, and you just answered it briefly in that response. When can I register for courses? So Andrea just said the end of May. Can you talk about that process a little bit for international students in their first semester?
Yeah, so you'll also have the support of the international advisors in registering for courses. They can answer any questions you might have about the process of it. But when you apply, when you're accepted, you'll be given a registration date and time. You don't have to wait until that day to pre-register for things. So when the timetable is available for the next academic year, you would go in, you'd see which courses you have to take for our program, which ones might be elective for you, and you can get help building a timetable. And then you can check a little box at the bottom of the web registration that says automatically register me at the date and time, and by doing so, you'll get your course selection at the very earliest opportunity. And so with that too, as with many things with it, you don't want to delay on anything. So if you've been given a date and a time to register, even waiting an hour can mean the difference between getting a seat in a class and being waitlisted for a class.
And if the process sounds daunting, you're not alone. That's the experience of many students. That's why there's a lot of support online. So there's video tutorials on how to walk through that process, written tutorials on how to do that, and of course, again, you can reach out by email or telephone and say, okay, help me understand the process here. So if you take the time to look at that information beforehand, as Andrew said, plan your studies, tick that box. It should be a very smooth experience for you.
And and it might be a very different experience from a lot of students who have gone into programs where all their courses have already been chosen for them. One of the things we keep saying is how you can shape your own education. And with that comes the responsibility of shaping your own education, so having to make those choices yourself. And as Rob says, we can absolutely support you in that, but you do have to register for the fall and the spring at the same time in May.
And keep an eye on your emails from your admissions officer and from the advising team in International, because they're there to help you and they'll be providing information along the way. A couple other things that we haven't talked about yet in this session. One is housing in Nanaimo. So I'd like to talk about the various ways that we support students in finding housing. We have a university-run homestay program, so for students who are coming to Canada for the first time, perhaps doing an upgrade of their English before they arrive, they have an opportunity to stay with a Canadian family. We assess and train all of our families, and we match them up as best we can with the interests and sort of lifestyle of the arriving student. And so that can be a really great experience, and again, it's run right here in this building on campus.
Like if you like dogs and you want to live with a family that has a dog, we can do that for you.
Yeah.
Or if you don't like dogs and if you don't like any animals, we can find a family that has no animals.
Right. The next option for housing would be our residences. So international students who apply by the deadline, which you can find on our website, are guaranteed a space for September in our residences. Again, a great way to have an introduction into Canadian life. It's also a good way to set yourself up socially because you're living with other students, and yet you also have the comfort of having staff on campus in the residences 24 hours a day. So it's an excellent introduction into life at VIU.
And they can just come to the cafeteria, right, and get meals there, so that's also very convenient.
Yeah. And then we also have support for off-campus housing. So for students who want to live in apartments or suites and houses around the campus, we have a member of our staff who helps to do that, and also provides training for what the rental situation is like in Canada. So you should know your rights and responsibilities as a tenant before you get into that. We have training available for that.
That's really
And
helpful.
yeah, and we have a website we work with for listings for students to find roommates and to find apartments. Before we go here, let's talk a little bit about life on campus. We've talked a little bit about life on Vancouver Island.
Yeah.
As a former student, Andrew, how did you find the student life here?
It was quite varied. So depending on, so I can be a little bit shy, but I can also be outgoing at times. And I found that I could always find a group of people who matched my interests. So whether I was interested in going over to Vancouver with a group of people, going to the art gallery, I could find those kinds of opportunities, or just finding a kind of a quiet, beautiful place to study overlooking the most beautiful Georgia Strait. I had that as well. They have, we've got varsity sports, so you can go to a volleyball game or a basketball game. They have...
we have national championship teams.
There's nothing.
Our women's volleyball team just won the national.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so there's a lot to do here, and I think that it takes a little bit of time to figure out who we are on the campus. So even if I have a strong sense of who I am, I think when I came to study here, I got shaped by the studies that I was doing. Some of the values that I have sort of really became better shaped, and I learned a lot more about who I was. Yeah, it was a great experience. How about you, Rob?
Yeah, I was a student too, actually, in faculty management, and I think one of my highlights was the food. I gotta say, so we have delicious food. That's one of my memories, and I think I also have to give a lot of respect and a shout out to the Vancouver Island University Students Union. So a great group of people that work very, very hard to advocate for students in a variety of different ways. And so there's a dedicated building for the Students Union, and I'd encourage you, if you're a student interested in coming here, to look at that website, Vancouver Island University Student Union, and just look at the variety of clubs and associations that are here on campus that you can get involved in. So, and I think we always encourage students, right, to reach out and make those networks, not just within your program, but also across the campus. And you never know, you might find you'll join the Surf Rider Association, you might find you join the outdoor recreation and go kayaking or river rafting. You never know where your interest might lend you.
And we also have activities right here in the Faculty of International Education for international students to find out about other people's cultures. And so every week we have a culture couch, which is when a group of students from a particular country get together and do a presentation and prepare some food and maybe do some singing or dancing. It's a way to learn about other cultures and also to come together with your fellow students. We also have road trips that you can sign up for at a very reasonable cost. We had a group that went out this morning to Mount Washington to go snowboarding and skiing.
Awesome. Great.
They go
We
to
have trips.
Banff, right? They go to Alberta and go
Whistler.
see the beautiful mountains.
And then some right here on Vancouver Island. We do day trips to Victoria. We do day trips to our beautiful west coast out in Tofino, where people go to surf. So lots of opportunities for you to have fun and to make friends here on campus. So that comes to the end of our questions. I'd like to thank you very much for watching today. If you, as I said at the outset, you may not be watching live right now because you may be in a different time zone. So if you have questions as you're watching this, please do still enter them into the comments with the live stream. We will be checking after the fact and we'll get to all of your questions. So again, thank you, and we hope to see you here on campus at Vancouver Island University.
See you soon.
Bye.